Hello. Just gonna wait and see how this goes, or it just takes a moment to load. I did want to show off this beautiful orchid here. I keep wanting it to be in the frame, but it's a little too tall. But look how gorgeous it is. So beautiful. Okay, so I'm here to talk about the radical act of trusting what is, of accepting or trusting what is. Hello, whoever's watching, please say hello. As always, please, I love to know who's out there and what's going on for you. Um, so I can see that very often in my past, I have engaged with the world or made choices based off of outside feedback, or my actions were, how I perceived my actions to be impacting the outside. And while that in itself is not a bad thing to do, what happened that wasn't working was that I was then judging my own inner experience based on its effect or lack thereof, or whatever, in terms of other people and the outside environment. And that I'm realizing that that cannot be the final factor by which I measure or accept or don't accept what is presenting in my reality. So, and that the very act of making it dependent on something outside is harmful on a certain level. So I'm realizing that just the act of trusting whatever is there, whatever impulse, feeling, emotion, whatever is there, and accepting and being present to that fully, and then expressing that is the most productive thing I can do in really any context. And this doesn't mean kind of blind expression of pain, right? Or frustration, or like, it doesn't mean emotional dumping. Okay, that is not what I'm referring to. But it does mean that in the act of recognizing, I am seeing that this, whatever is present, whatever information is there, is enough, and is the exact place I need to be to move forward from, right? So this is basically what I talk about nonstop. And I'm just trying to find different lenses and ways of articulating it, because the depth of its integration and of its application is really unending in my experience. Do say hello if you're here watching. I'd love to know who's out there, who is out there. I always mess that up. So that was one thing I wanted to say. I also wanted to talk about, I want to say this one more time. So the fact that whatever you're expressing as true for you does or does not land or resonate or impact with whoever you're communicating it to does not make it true or untrue. Okay, it does mean you may want to look for different words or language, but whatever is true for you is true for you and is valid. The validity of your experience cannot be measured based off of its impact on others. That's very important to say. And we can't, the far more productive guiding force is your internal sense of what feels true and good. Hi, Ray. Yeah, of course I know who you are. Lovely to see you here. Oh, yeah, I remember being in your home, of course. Yeah, lovely to see you here. Thanks for joining. Yes, and we cannot, far too often we have a desire, we have a dream, we put it out there, it doesn't land on that first attempt, and then we stop trying. And so it is for us to realize that, the reality is never that you are not good enough or your desire isn't valid or your truth isn't meaningful or right. It's just that you haven't persisted long enough. We haven't persisted long enough, and we haven't perhaps searched or hunted or been present to the ways in which we can adjust to have a more successful communication or experience of whatever it is that we desire. Um, okay, so and here I wanted to share a story of one of my mentors, a woman named Lainey Smith, who talks about getting into Bali. Lainey, I'm sure you're good with this. Talks about flying to Bali and not getting in because she didn't have the papers, or being told she couldn't land there because she didn't have medical check clearance. This was just COVID was just sort of hitting, I think. Um, and she didn't accept that. She didn't accept that as her reality. That was what presented first, but she didn't accept it. She said she talked to like 10 people, and finally on the 10th they gave her the paper she needed to get through. So it also comes back to what I said on a previous live about we can't collapse to meet what's presenting easily. When we do that, we're letting ourselves down. We need to stay, hi, Lori. Oh, joy. Um, we need to stay connected to what it is that we truly desire. We need to stay connected to what is presenting as true for us and honor that, no matter what feedback we get, right? And that is what leads to success in the long term. Yeah, okay, so I wanted to say that. And then I wanted to talk a bit about, because it also doesn't mean we take can't take advice. Maybe advice isn't the best word, but it also doesn't mean wisdom can't and doesn't come to us from outside sources. But it is for each of us to feel the resonance of what is being communicated or not, right? And if it's not resonating, then fine, that is not the feed for you in that moment, okay? Okay, so I wanted to say that. And also, though, as somebody who's worked with teachers in a Buddhist lineage for 15 years, that doesn't mean there aren't things they say that sometimes I don't understand or that I don't like, certainly. Resonance, liking has nothing to do with resonance, okay? In fact, quite often, what is most potent for you as truth is going to be uncomfortable. So, but does it have a sense of aliveness? Does it have a sense of expansion? That is the valuable thing to pay attention to. Okay, so, but that is also why we need to maintain that really firm commitment to the integrity of whatever you are experiencing, because then we have enough strength to engage in a conversation of exploration. What you're saying is this, I don't get that. This is what comes up for me. If we're willing to stay engaged in that dialogue, then the magic can really happen. But as soon as we collapse in on making our experience wrong, we can't actually enter that dialogue constructively. And so it's actually really good to look at here in terms of the meaningful relationships in your life. If there are any areas or realities or truths that are not okay, that you're going to have a very strong emotional reaction to and kind of push away against, or they are, that is really going to limit the degree of truth and exploration that you can do together and unfold together, right? So it is important to, especially in our most closest relationships, and absolutely with any mentors, where really we're taking away all of the taboos in terms of what is allowed to be said and what isn't allowed to be said. Because as soon as something is kind of not allowed to be said, or that part of our truth is then off the table in terms of communication, which means we don't have the full picture available to create a really constructive dialogue. Um, so, but that's also a way that each of us can have a very profound impact in all of the conversations that we have, in every single conversation that we have, because the more open you are to hearing uh, uh, anything, and that doesn't mean you think it's amazing, but that you don't go into a place of judgment of yourself or them. You don't make them bad or wrong. Oh, hi, G. Okay, lovely to see you. Yes, yes, thank you, thank you. Right, and you and I have experienced this directly, right? And sometimes it takes, in a relationship, it takes us a little bit to realize, okay, what is off the table? What am I not saying? And how can I courageously um, thanks, Lori. Good point. And how can I courageously bring that to the table? And I like 9 times out of 10, the other person will be grateful. And whether they're grateful or not, that is an act of honoring who you are and what is true for you. And that is so life affirming and important. Like your life energy depends on that. Yeah, we have, and we've done it pretty good. I'm very impressed with us. And okay, so this though is important to say as well, because what makes it hard in a dynamic, especially those dynamics where there's a lot of love and care and belonging kind of hinging on that dynamic, is that we feel like if we say X or Y or Z, I will not be loved, or I will, or maybe they're going to have an intense emotional reaction. And so this is why the work always comes back to our own ability to be with and honor and hold whatever it is that you are experiencing, no matter what. And for you to recognize your inherent value no matter what. And that's important because that's how you show up for yourself, uh, that lets your own being know that I am here for myself no matter what. And then that's the most potent act of self-love, in which case then that what's the word? Then that codependency in terms of the experience of belonging, acceptance, love that's disempowered, that's dismantled, because you have proven to yourself that you are there for yourself, right? So it is for each of us to explore what are the areas in our life where we are not okay with who we are or how we might be, or the possibility of us being X or Y or Z. And we need to adventure into those places and hold our emotional sensorial reactions as we do that, um, and recognize that even that is at its core the wonder of life expressing. Even whatever feels most unacceptable, most wrong, most gross, most absolutely not, is the wonder of life expressing. And then it's actually when we do that we have the power to choose our actions. And instead of just being knee-jerked out of terror of being that, we're knee-jerked into other behavior, right? Okay. Yes. Well, and it's the beautiful G who's saying here that you're saying you're not so good at it. I would say differently, but yes. So then uh, and this is where also even curiosity, it's repeated nonstop, but what we don't realize is that we can apply it in every single moment, in any moment, um, especially where we're kind of ing. Instead of going, no, I don't want this, can we go, ooh, what is this beautiful dynamic that's presenting, right? Um, yeah. Okay. Okay, so I think that's it from here. uh, big, big gratitude to everybody who showed up and watched. Showed up and watched. And yeah, I'd love to hear what comes up for you. Please comment and share in the chat. And yeah, thank you, G. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Ray. And we'll see you around. Okay, bye for now.